It's been a long week, right? Are you ready to wind down? Why not? It's time for the Wine Time Fridays podcast with Shelley and Phil. Neither are sommeliers, but both have a deep passion for life, each other, and of course, delicious wine. And now, here to talk about this week over a glass of wine is Shelley and Phil. It's wine time!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil and a guest on this Black Friday, November 29th, episode 241. Shelley, happy Friday. It's wine time.
It's already been Black Friday the whole past week.
Black Friday starts in like August anymore.
Practically.
Today we have a special guest as a part of our From Games to Grapes series, because there are a lot of, I don't know if you know this, there are a lot of athletes that are actually getting into the wine world. If you remember back on the Apple Cup episode, we had Drew Bledsoe and Damon Huard. We've had Jeff Spurbeck with the Seven Cellars gang. Apparently John Elway is too busy on the lake that day. But now we have Tony Mall with Three Fat Guys Wines. Tony, welcome to Wine Time Fridays. Thank you for being here.
What's going on? How you guys doing?
It's the best day ever now. We're going to talk wine and football. I mean, seriously.
Oh, it is the best day ever.
It's the best day ever. We have 5 wines to taste through, so I think we're going to get started right away. Tony, have you got, by chance, your 2022 Three Fat Guys Sauvignon Blanc in front of you?
I don't. I need to grab it real quick.
Well, Tony's getting his 2022.
He's in the tasting.
Three Fat Guys Sauvignon Blanc.
All right, now we're back.
This is the 2022. I specifically asked Dustin. Oh yes, to health, wealth, and abundance, gratitude, romance, and
Peace on earth.
Happy Friday.
Happy freaking Friday. This is gonna be a fun episode.
It is the day after Thanksgiving. It's a quiet day, right?
No, we've poured this in the one white wine glass from Andrea Robinson down in your neck of the woods, Tony. She's got the one white and the one red. And they're our very favorite go-to wine glasses. So we poured this delicious Sauvignon Blanc, by the way, in the one white wine glass. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this wine as we start launching into a smorgasbord, if you will, of topics.
Right. Sure. So, yeah, I think this is probably our 7th wine project that we started creating. So,
okay,
Sauvignon Blanc for us was the second white, or really the third white, if you count rosé. But we kind of, even though our name Three Fat Guys, we take our wines extremely serious, and this comes from Indian Springs Ranch, which is a iconic vineyard here in Sonoma Valley, also known as the McLeod Ranch. But it's way up in the hills and at the north end of the valley. Just known for its minerality and just tropical fruit notes that come through. Grapefruit would also come to mind. We put our spin on it, making it, in more of a French style, with only in French oak barrels, and just really letting the acidity kind of be the shining star. And I think it shows. We love it a lot. It's kind of like the icebreaker for us.
Yeah, you know what? That's fantastic too. Every place needs an icebreaker. When we were in Boise about a month ago, we stopped by Cinder, and they greeted us with a glass of wine that was outstanding. I don't know if that's a good idea to start with such a quality, because then you don't know what happens if it falls off, but it sure gets you in the right frame of mind when you walk in, right? Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Is this 100%?
100%, yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It went down.
It's a for us and what we try to accomplish with the vineyards, and when we choose to partner with certain vineyards, we try to stay away from flat vineyards. I want differences in elevations and undulations within the vineyard itself, So I think it really builds in a different character. So this vineyard kind of, similar to what our Pinot Noir sees in the vineyard, a lot of rocks down below at the bottom end. There's a lot of different soil, a lot of loam. And I think it allows different expression. So when we kind of pull samples and we figure out what we're going to do, we're able to get some from the top, some from the bottom, and kind of intermingle it all at the press. And I think it just builds just a beautiful, beautiful wine.
Do you see some microclimate, micro terroir differences when you do that elevation?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. I mean,
Makes sense.
it's kind of going beyond. I'm gonna give a little stick to in the beginning. Talking about the other football players that are making wine. They're a lovely face and name, but they are not out in the vineyards like I am.
What?
There's a big difference.
This is true, and there is a difference. I know Damon is not out in the vineyards.
Oh yeah,
and I'm pretty sure. Well, Drew may be. He's a farmer. He's a farm boy from Pullman,
sure.
Down in the Eastern Washington. So he very well could be. I do know he has a winemaker. You get involved in these. To bring another football name up, Jim McMahon is your director of winemaking, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Different.
Yeah,
Jim
not
McMahon.
the Bears quarterback, but he's the legendary winemaker Jim McMahon. He's also a dear friend and also my next door neighbor. So
nice.
He came on board in 2013 and just really helped kind of allowing us to turn the corner and being accepted across Sonoma Valley, across Napa as, an up and coming incredible winery that obviously we have a fun story and we kind of set ourselves up in a fun way, but you're still getting high-end wine here.
At the end of the day, right?
Yeah, and that's the best part. And so we actually contracted this vineyard for Sauvignon Blanc in 2020, and I was really bummed. I don't know if you remember, we had our big fires, across California, Oregon, Washington in 2020, and so
2020 was a year of greatness, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. The vineyards were incredible. The grapes were the character was outstanding, and it was like the worst timing ever for a fire to hit, and it just destroyed all of it. And so we had yet to pick anything, and it just it was so sad because we are so excited about finally having Sauvignon Blanc, and now all of a sudden it was like we got to wait another year.
Did those vines burn? They didn't burn to the ground. You just got smoke taint.
Right. So
couldn't you have called this Sauvignon Blanc a Fume Blanc then?
Right. Yeah. So it's hard because barbecue has become such a huge hit, obviously with all the TV shows now and everything as well.
Right.
But it's not like smokiness like you want like with food. It's like disgusting. Yeah. It's like tar smoke. It's really weird the way that when a fire hits a house and all the chemicals that come out of a house, how it affects the environment. And so it was really crazy. We had about 40-50 days of intense, thick, smoky air. And so you go out in the vineyard, in any of the vineyards, and there was like an ash that had glued itself to the grape skins and the leaves.
Oh, wow.
And so those chemicals were just being absorbed through the leaves, through the skins. And, it finally, when you had like the big name wineries like, Gallo saying, hey, we're not picking grapes. We've kind of considered this as being our threshold, and it is way over that. So then everybody started following suit, and you had a handful of stubborn wineries that still were like, we're still picking. And a buddy of mine helped make some wine that year, and typically, like with a red wine, you would put all the grapes into the fermentation tank, start the process, and you go to press, and you press everything, and now it goes back into a settling tank. And after a while, you pull it off of all the lees that's kind of left in the tank. And on a red wine, it's like the most beautiful bouquet of like fruity, jammy smells. and you just want to like eat it for lunch. And
Yeah.
it was gray and putrid and disgusting. And it's
Oh,
like,
man.
that's what's
Oh, that's
inside
so
the 2020
sad.
wines. Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah, so I'm happy we made the decision to follow suit. We picked 0 grapes in 2020. So we were left with 21 being our first ever Sauvignon Blanc. And, you know, I think 21 was great. We learned a lot that year. And so coming into 22 is like, okay, we're taking all that knowledge and we're going to wrap it into this. And I think we really hit the nail on the head. It's just a fun, aromatic wine that it's just exciting. Like it just builds energy while you're drinking it, and it elevates the conversation. You instantly want to smile. You know, talk about like a key lime pie dessert. You like, if you have this with that, it's like the best thing in the world.
Well, there's one of our food pairings, is key lime pie. This thing truly coats my tongue all the way back.
It's more like a Sancerre, but with some juiciness.
Juiciness, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately what we're going for is, you know, is a Sancerre. I mean, that to me would be the end all be all goal, is to be able to create some incredible, more Chablis or Sancerre style of Sauvignon Blanc. You know, it's just obviously we don't have the same environment, the same soils, but it's,
of course.
I think, you know, this Sauvignon Blanc kind of stands on its own on a table, and people want to go back for a second glass or a third glass for sure.
Well, I've already gone back for a second glass, albeit a small one. A second taste. I'm going to finish mine. You're going to finish yours. Let's get on to that Chard. I'm not going to lie, Tony. This Chardonnay is something I'm the following coming up. The Chardonnay is really what I've been really looking forward to. That we are a Chardonnay house,
right?
We're not the ABC anything but Chardonnay house. We probably have a Chardonnay 5 or 6 days out of the week while we're making dinner. Do you have this one in front of you?
Yes.
That a guy.
Right here. You always have Chardonnay with you, just like you're saying. It's extremely important to have good Chardonnay in your household, and I love it. I mean,
yeah.
My dad was a teacher. I love educating people, but we're not pushy here at Three Fat Guys. So when people come in, they're like, "Oh, I don't drink Chardonnay," and it's like, okay, that's fine, but obviously you've never had ours. And we get people that are just red wine drinkers that fall in love with our Chardonnay. And we have people that swear that they'll never drink a Chardonnay again, and they'll fall in love with our Chardonnay.
Yeah, because they've just not had the right one. This is a 2021 Three Fat Guys Chardonnay, $65 at the winery. That Sauvignon Blanc, $35 at the. And I'm going to stick this right here.
So it's kind of fun. Our Chardonnay vineyard's right across the street from our tasting room here, right on the valley floor here in Sonoma, and it's just a beautiful walk. It's a gorgeous vineyard. It's surprisingly for Chardonnay, it's a late harvest. We kind of pick it almost in line. We actually pick all of our Pinot Noir first, Zinfandel first. Then we kind of get into where we can pick the Chardonnay vineyard. It just kind of just
Chardonnay in like late September sort of thing, or early October.
Late September, early October, yeah.
Really?
It's crazy, and which is fun because it's.
Go
ahead.
What are the bricks on those grapes when you pick them?
We like to get above 23 bricks for our Chardonnay, and so, but it kind of just a nice easy climb, and like this vineyard has a beautiful large canopy, and I think that kind of will really play into it too. It's not overly cropped. It's it's got I'd say it's right around 4 tons to the acre, and it's just a wonderful easy growth within the bricks. Each about a week it goes up 1 to 2 bricks through maturity. And it kind of gets to that 21, and then it kind of just slows down and just takes its time, which is perfect. I love it.
Well,
and
yeah.
We've been making Chardonnay since 2014. We've only used the Palmer Ranch, which is right across the street from our tasting room. And it just every single year, it's just a beautiful, beautiful wine. Going back to Jim. So Jim's first winery that he worked with straight out of college was Kenwood Winery.
Okay.
And Kenwood in the 90s was definitely known for their Chardonnay. And so he learned from some amazing winemakers on how to do it correctly. And to be able to have that now, and I feel like the next generation, the new generation of winemaking, didn't really grow up learning how to make Chardonnay just because everybody kind of went away from it, right? Nobody wanted that big oaky bomb, the butter bomb wine. Everybody kind of went to Sauvignon Blanc. And to have Jim's understanding and knowledge on how to make an incredibly rich, beautiful style of Chardonnay really kind of separates us in a cool way. And it's not too oaky. It's not too buttery. It's like perfectly balanced with just a nice hint of caramelization too. I mean, it's just a gorgeous wine. This will definitely be on, my Christmas table. It'll be the holidays, everything. It's there, and it's just it's something that we always celebrate when we say white wine in our house. We mean Chardonnay.
This looks much oakier than it tastes.
I was going to say it tastes like neutral oak to me, or
It's really nice color.
Yeah, but the you get on the nose too, right? You get a nice. You can really smell out the oils coming out of from the oak.
What kind of oak do you use on this one? French oak also?
100% French oak.
And
Yes, we have
100% new?
We have 5 different cooperages that we work with, and it's about 40% new, which is a fair amount of oak. But and we leave it on oak for the better part of a year before it goes in bottle. Yeah,
a better part of a year, and you're right about the color. It's very golden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It to me, I was getting a hint of oak, but I was just taking that as completely neutral.
Right.
But this is outstanding. I poured a lot in my glass because we're going to have some time to let Tony talk a little bit, because these are both from Sonoma. Tony, you grew up in Sonoma, so wine is not unfamiliar to you. By the way, all the background noise that you hear is not our dog, is not company here. Tony's doing this from his tasting room,
Which is very fun.
which is very cool. So who knows? He may be called away. We've already gotten answers from the gallery on a couple of things. And so a little bit about your background in the wine world, because this is, like, as you say, this is not just someone who played football, made a little bit of money, and started a winery and hired everybody to do it, and you put your name on so you can sell some wine. And
Right.
To your point earlier, when you're talking about the story and you're talking about, wine, people buy with wine from the wine labels, that's all well and good. It's what's in the bottle that ends up having to be good, because if you have all that other stuff and you have crap wine, it makes no difference.
But they also look
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about, so the story with Three Fat Guys is pretty intentional story, along with the stories that Tony's going to share with us here in a second about growing up in Sonoma. But you've got to have it's got to be good juice in the glass, or it falls flat. The stories don't mean as much. So talk
so
a little bit about your wine
I
journey.
remember in my earlier years as a child, kind of going back, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years old.
Oh wow!
Being at my great grandparents' house and kind of running through the back vineyards, chasing rabbits. And I remember going into the barn, which was known as off limits, and because that's where all the goods were. And my great grandparents coming out and yelling in Italian at us, and things like that, right? And I think when any type of farming, when you have that kind of if you're raised in that style, there's something special about it. When the family gets together, for us, when there's wine on the table, it's extremely important. It's just not a bottle on the table. It's the pride and joy of what we're doing. And I think it really, it's why I'm so passionate about it. I'm a big family person. I have a really tight circle of friends, and that are, it's an unbreakable bond, and it's important. And, for us and what we do with Three Fat Guys is, really try to embody that. And, of course we have our football story,
Sure.
the teams we played for and everything, but truly what this is embodying is the idea of friendship and, keeping our families close and doing things together. Because as we all know that the acronym for NFL stands
No
for
Fun
not
League?
for long. It doesn't stand for National Football League. It's not for long. And so
I always heard no fun league, but I guess not for long is probably, yeah. For linemen, your expected time in the league is probably 3 to 5 years.
Oh yeah, the average
not very long.
The average person plays for less than 2, and so to be able to play I got 6 years in. Jason did 7, and Darren did 9. And, but for me, it was different. I was ready to move back home and kind of take on the winery and kind of expand it. And, really my passion shifted from football and I just totally wanted to do wine. And so I kind of built out my exit strategy to do that. But, ultimately for me though, growing up here in Sonoma Valley, it's an adult playground. There's a lot of fun stuff to do here. It was, as a kid, you're kind of out in the hills, out in the vineyards, playing sports. That's about it. You got some noise over there too.
Sorry.
You try to plan. Jeez. It might be our assistant, but she's not. I left her freaking turkey outside, so she doesn't have to ring the doorbell. That's our dog. Ferocious. We had a moose in our neighborhood this morning.
No way, really?
Like a 9-foot tall moose.
Did you take a picture?
I went and looked for him a little bit this morning on my way out to do a couple things and never found him. But someone on the Ring app said this is who was at our front door, and it was about 45 minutes before. And then I looked at the post or the notification, and then looked where it was, and it was literally right across the golf course from where we are. And so, but there was one in our neighborhood last night. I'm guessing it's the same one that was on another post, and it was standing next to someone's house, and its head was at the soffit line.
No way.
Yes. I'm like,
She's a big girl.
oh, she is. How do you know?
We call my youngest son Moose.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's supposed to be 6'9", and so
Oh my goodness.
he lives up to it too, which is hilarious. He's a bruiser.
Okay. Where were we
So
before?
I have a question though. Who are the other fat guys? Because you haven't named them specifically.
Well, he just kind of skimmed over them
We'll get
because
there, we'll get there,
the
yeah.
other ones were
Jason.
drafted in front of Tony. So he probably just skimmed over them on that for that reason.
They're much more important from football standpoint, but for the wine side, I'm the most important.
Really, that's all that matters.
That is the most important.
So you had Darren.
Yep. So kind of getting back to Sonoma, kind of growing up here in the Valley, a couple of my good childhood. My family sold off our vineyards in the 80s and kind of got out of the business. There was a big housing boom here in California, and everybody jumped in and became general contractors and built homes. And so for me, growing up here in Sonoma, my love for wine, my passion for wine truly came from a handful of my friends that their families were prominent winery families. And so we'd always be at the wineries, working events, making money, helping direct parking cars and getting tips, is the best job as a kid. And, really you get in the back rooms, you get in the caves, and it's just the lore of what a winery was just
The
such a
smell,
cool
right?
feature.
And
the
the cave. I
smells,
love the cave.
the operation, seeing the team operate, and and it's just such a cool thing. And so I took that with me to when I went to University of Nevada, and I'd be the one that'd bring a bottle of wine to the house party, and you'd be surprised at who the girls wanted to hang out with, right? I mean, it's just
Probably
a little
not.
bit different, yeah, and so had a wonderful time at the University of Nevada, which allowed me to get drafted, and finally made my way over to Green Bay, and that's where I met Darren and Jason. And Darren comes from Alaska and went to Boise State, and Jason grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and went to University of Louisville. So we are three people that come from three corners of the country, and
Really, yeah.
went to school a little bit closer towards the middle, then drafted to the middle. And I think it's a really cool thing, and we love it a lot. And it just we keep trying to do more and expand more and figure out what else we can do with this brand. And we have a lot of exciting things that we're working on. So yeah, there you go.
So not yesterday, but a week ago yesterday, there was a game in Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. And did you see that game, the blizzard?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's hard for me not to watch that. I've never played in that. No, I played in plenty of rain. I mean, downpours, you're just soaking wet, muddy. And I was a quarterback, and that says something about my offensive line. But did you ever play in those blizzards like you had to have in Green Bay?
Sure. Yeah, no, man, I played in some incredibly old games, and I played in some, just some big snowflake games. One of my favorite games was actually we were in the playoffs playing against the Seattle Seahawks at Lambeau Field. And we got to a point where I know. We got to the point where
we're looking for a good time to do that. I was pitting out over here.
So it was at a point where we were definitely going to win the game, and these snowflakes started coming down the size of sand dollars. They were so huge,
super wet snow too,
and they'd just be covering your face mask. You couldn't see anything, so you'd be running just having to clear off snow from your face as you're running down the field. It was.
Did you play with a visor?
No, never.
Okay, so it was just on your mask, but it would accumulate on your mask
because the snowflakes were so big.
Right?
Yeah, but really, more than that, more than the rain games, it was the freezing cold.
Yeah,
and those were just unbearable. And my coldest game I ever played in was actually in Chicago, and with the wind chill factor, oh my god, it was insane. It was the last game of the season. We played there, and I think with the wind chill factor, it was right around -30, somewhere right there.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And that was, I didn't wear sleeves. Only so I could say I didn't wear sleeves.
Exactly. I mean, so Shelly doesn't get this, but that is a real thing, especially as an opposing team, when you go into your
the tough guy.
Yeah, you're wanting to prove this is nothing, right?
Yeah.
And during that snow game, when we watched it, Shelly's like, well, why are they even playing? And I looked at her and said, can you even hear yourself right now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And, I was talking about it yesterday with some people, and it's, you have to just remember, when you're going through it, that everybody else is dealing with the same thing. And so as long as you can keep that mindset, you just play your game, and it'll be all right.
It is so true. It's but this affects us more because we're from, actually last week the Seahawks played Arizona at home and in very inclement weather. And this week they're going to New York to play the Jets. Your Packers are doing really well in the North, even though I feel like I always still want to call it the Central. And I can't wrap my head around it, but they've had 2 games in 5 days this week, because they played last Sunday and they played yesterday against Miami on Thanksgiving Day. So it's so interesting. The Seahawks played 3 games in 10 days, and that's just bad scheduling, But what do you do to kind of get through those challenges in a football season?
It's a young man's game. I mean, it's just you have the ability to just grind. I mean, that's what it comes. I could not do that today. I mean, with the family, with little kids running around. I mean, there's no way. There's no way. I mean, but ultimately, I mean, you talk about correlations between football and wine. I mean, especially with trying to be a farmer, trying to be a winemaker. I mean, it's almost on the same schedule. I mean, we start really kind of at the end of July, starting to really focus on building the harvest. And
doing those 2-a-day practices in the heat.
Oh yeah, so and it kicks off some point in harvest. It's in August, excuse me, and we kind of go all the way through to December on the winemaking side, getting everything in a barrel and getting it to finally rest. And so it kind of gets to the point like right now where we were about a month early this year, so it's kind of nice being in November now that it's like the end of November, and we're finally seeing some rain come through. Thank God. Yeah, we're ready for that, and it's like okay, now we can kind of enjoy the holidays, and as we get into December, and not have to really worry too much about what's in barrel. Just let it rest, let it do its own thing, and we'll get back on our bottling schedule in January, and that's kind of like the next big step.
So in January you do bottling, but what do you do from January till bud break? It's mostly bottling.
Yeah, so it's kind of this is like our downtime more than anything else. So I get on the road. I do a lot of events. I do wine dinners around the area, and kind of hopefully get to be able to take a little bit of time off myself. And we have a fun trip coming up in March.
I wonder where you're going.
Yeah, we're taking some time away to a little warmer area.
Oh, but you're not going to go to wine country somewhere?
No, definitely not. We're going to go sit on a beach.
Nice.
There are plenty of beaches at that time of year. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I have got a question for Tony about a lineman's dream.
Okay. Playing quarterback.
No, I'm sorry. You don't want that. Go ahead. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays with Shelly and Phil and Tony Mall with Three Fat Guys Wines, episode 241 on Black Friday. I didn't again? Okay, what am I doing? November 29th. We have just tasted through a 2022 Sauvignon Blanc, $35 at the winery. A 2021 Chardonnay, $65 at the winery. And we are now about to open the 2021 Three Fat Guys Pinot Noir. $80 at the winery. Tony's already got his open because he's in the tasting room.
I just poured it all over my laptop too. So that's
hopefully it's Dusty's laptop.
That's a penalty.
That's a party foul for sure. That's a 15-yard penalty. This is a 2020
Don't drip it on there.
Okay.
You just did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I don't see it. It's red. So I teased a question about the lineman's dream. Tony, you know what a lineman's dream is other than playing quarterback, right?
Scoring a touchdown.
That is one for sure. Yeah, for sure. Interception.
Yeah.
Scoring a touchdown. We actually saw a couple weeks ago a defensive lineman had a pick play. It was outstanding because he actually leaped off the ground like 6 inches, which is about 3 inches higher than I can leap off the ground.
Right.
To grab it. It was unbelievable. And then I started thinking, I wonder if you ever either caught a touchdown, caught a pass, or I mean, for you, it wouldn't be an interception, but I have never heard of a guard eligible play. I've heard of tackle eligibles all over the place, but did you ever score a touchdown or catch a pass?
I did all the way through college. So I played tight end growing up, high school and college, and then my senior in college, that's when I became an offensive lineman. So as I was getting ready to be drafted, one of the places I went down to and spent some time with the team was in San Diego, the Chargers.
Mhm.
And the offensive coordinator there at the time really liked me as a tight end. And fast forward, after my time with the Packers, I was traded to the Baltimore Ravens,
Mhm.
and only to find out that one of the reasons was also because the offensive coordinator there was Cam Cameron, who was the offensive coordinator in San Diego. And so he was really excited to try to bring me in. And
Cam Cameron used to be at the University of Washington. So there you go.
Right. Yeah. And so he built a lot of fun jumbo packages and different things where I'd be turned into a tight end. And we'd work in practice every once in a while where I would run out for touchdown passes. And, I'd played along. It was all fun. And, I just wanted to be an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And we're in the playoffs one of the years and playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're getting ready to score, and we're on a TV timeout, and he looks over to me and goes, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, no, not really.
It's one thing in practice. It's one thing in practice, another thing in a game, right?
Yeah. I'm like, let's not do this. And so he calls the jumbo package. I got to go out on the field. I have to report eligible as a receiver, and I'm actually a wide receiver, not a tight end.
Oh, they split you out.
Oh yeah, and so I make sure I'm on the line correctly, and I look across, and Troy Polamalu's covering me, and you could see just like pure confusion on his face. I mean, he's just like, "What are you doing?" And so of course I respond to him saying, "I have no idea." And
he actually said that to you. What are you doing? Oh, that's awesome. Troy played USC. There you go.
Yeah. And so ball gets snapped. I give him a quick move on the inside. I'm like, I beat Troy. Like Joe Flacco, throw me the ball and to score a touchdown. And of course,
Troy's pretty fast.
Yeah, Anquan Bolden's guy slipped and fell down, so he was just sitting wide open in the corner of the end zone, and so he just floated the ball to him. And I thought I beat Troy, but he was like literally just sitting on my hip. It was just
and he was just waiting for the ball to get in the air. Yeah. Exactly.
And by the way, fun experience to be, as a wide receiver in a playoff game. We did a couple things. Mainly if I went in as a tight end, it was for blocking, but it was a really cool experience. But no touchdowns in the NFL.
How has the footwork change from being a guard and being a tight end? Because that's where the nuances are on the line, right?
That was the hardest part, really, is learning. As a tight end, you're more of a sprinter stance, where as an offensive lineman, you want to be completely balanced, so you don't give it a hint if it's a run or a pass.
Right.
And so I have to learn how to just bend your hips a little bit differently and kind of find that neutral balance within your feet. And, I was never at the strongest. No way. I was not even in the same room as most of the guys on the offensive line and defensive line. But where I could make it up was I was a lot quicker. And so I could recover. So when I got beat, which happened a lot, I could recover and gain ground to keep them off the quarterback or away.
Sure.
But it helped. I was a huge benefit for running when we ran the ball. So the running backs loved me, and I could get up onto linebackers quicker and, open up large holes for them to run through.
Speaking of nuances, we should toast this wine.
Back to wine.
Yeah, Shelly's like, we haven't.
Shelly's like, this is boring.
She's just looking. No. Hashtag cheersing, okay? And you have to sip it after you do that. Tony, there's two great things going on right now. One is in my glass, and one is the fact that Shelly not only likes football, is knowledgeable.
That's good.
Slight exception of when she says she can't say the center snaps the ball. It's the center flicks the ball. So it's okay. It's okay. But it's so interesting because she actually can see things coming in a game. I got to tell you, as someone who has been a football fan for 62 years, I'm sure when I was 2, I became one. I've played a lot of football. I know football in and out. My family's a big sports fan or sports family, and literally, we can watch a game and I can point out what's about to happen, and many times it does, and she just looks at me and goes, "I don't get it," but she sees that stuff, and it's just a joy because I don't have to dumb things down. I love that. So I just had to
this is wonderful.
And that's to me is one of the best parts of what's going on with football today is that in a way it's a little too much the insight that you're getting so much on TV, but I think so many people are learning so much about the game that never played it growing up, and can now talk about it too, which is cool. And so, will it ever take over one of the best sports in the world? I think it'll always stay an American sport, but it's starting to really grow in Europe and Asia, and but I don't think it'll ever take over soccer. I think, but it's a fun sport, and the
NFL,
people that know about it better.
Yeah, the NFL's not giving up. They keep sending 3 or 4 games a year over to London, and we'll see how that works out for them. Let's get back to what's in our glass. Shelley's like, finally.
Let's already 50 minutes.
Well,
let's talk about this Pinot Noir.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one. So El Novelero Vineyard is farmed by dear friends of ours, the San Giacomo family. They farm about 1,600 acres here in Sonoma Valley, mainly all Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And I love this a lot. It's as I was saying kind of earlier with our Sauvignon Blanc being up on the hillside.
Yeah.
So the Carneros region being the closest vines to the bay waters. So it's at the south end of town. Mainly the vines in the Carneros are on the valley floor. So heavily impacted by bay silt. You think of like the crazy rains that we're having in California finally, everything would flood. And so that bay silt would come up into the valley. And so it brings this beautiful earthy note into the wines. But what's really cool about this vineyard is everything starts on the valley floor, but then races up these extremely steep hillsides, which is pure rock up above. And that really changes the characteristics a lot. So you're going to get more of like a big punch in your face of cherry and strawberry. And so we marry those two worlds together, the earth and then the fruit. Only using French Burgundian barrels, which I think really plays into this as well. So you get that nice toast, nice caramelization, a little bit of pepper, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful Pinot Noir. I mean, this is definitely my favorite of what we do, and we never can make enough. That's for sure.
Am I getting a little weight on this? This is not like your
light.
Yeah, light raspberry, bright cherry Pinot. This has got a little bit of oomph to it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's got some shoulders. I mean, it's a little bit more than what a typical Pinot is, which I enjoy. It's got a nice dark color to it as well. I mean, it's a beautiful wine.
Yeah, it's got great legs. Shelley?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you had some.
No, but I do want to ask about your label and your shield. Where does that come from? Tell us the story about that. That's really beautiful.
So these are I'm trying to come up with something clever for you. That'd be funny, but it's escaping me. So it's our just something to be stupid, but this was a vision that came to me. I woke up at a fire pit after drinking about 3 bottles of wine, and those are the best visions. And luckily I went.
Ones are gonna remember it.
Yeah. So I wrote it down on paper and woke up the next morning completely hungover, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's right. So it's our every seems like every winery has a family crest involved in it.
Right.
And I wanted to do something for Three Fat Guys, and so kind of came up with this idea that our 3 college mascots, and the shield represents our time in the NFL.
Right. Don't ever do anything to damage the shield.
That's it.
The biggest nonprofit in the world that makes $1
Yeah.
trillion a year. Don't damage that shield.
And then our version of a fleur-de-lis, which is a throwback to my Tuscan heritage. But if you look closely at this fleur-de-lis, there's a T, F, and G that's built into it.
Yep.
And so there's a lot going on here. But maybe we'll utilize it more in the future with different variations of wine. But right
Louisville, I'm trying to recall. It's Cardinal. Okay. Yeah, that's right. And is it the Running Rebels, University of Las Vegas?
No one's ever heard of that place. There's a junior college, kind of like more of like a community college in Southern Nevada. But it's the University of Nevada is in Reno.
Okay. Well, but there's University of Nevada, Las Vegas, right?
No,
it's in.
Been called that before.
Got it.
There's like high schools down there that there's like continuation school, but there's an extension, but there's no standalone university.
And what was that mascot? Where you went?
The Wolf Pack.
Oh yes. Gosh, what is wrong with me? And then you had the other one went to, where did you say?
So then Darren went to Boise State, the Broncos. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The blue field, the Smurf field, right? And so have you got all 3 of those mascots worked in on this then?
No, they're on the front.
Yeah.
Oh, on the front.
Right,
on the front.
See?
Oh, there they are. Well, you don't have to tell me more times. Jeez. Yeah, for those listening, go over to YouTube because that's when you'll get to see this. Or just order up the bottles for yourself and have them at home.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah, exactly, right? Let's get on to the Linemen.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that? No. Okay. All right.
The makeshift dump bucket.
The makeshift dump bucket. I'm going to do this right. The 2021, the Linemen. God, I love it. God, Tony gets right up to the camera. I don't even have to do it. He's like killing it. This is clearly a red blend. And I would think, is this even close to your signature? Even though we're talking a $35 price point, which is a great price point.
Yeah, exactly.
But it seems like this might be your signature because of the name. I don't know.
It's a sister wine label for us. As it continues to grow, it might split away and become its own winery. Ultimately, though, what I wanted was a wine that was specific to price point. So we kind of came up with the red blend, and we just came out with a white blend actually for the first time ever. So which is super fun.
What's in that white blend? Just for kicks and yucks.
It's a mix of a little Chardonnay and a little Sauvignon Blanc, some Riesling, and a splash of some other little white wines. Yeah. Okay. It's kind of like the first rendition of it, so it's kind of just seeing how it goes. It's starting to sell well at our restaurant, so it's a good sign.
You have a restaurant there at the winery?
No, it's downtown on the plaza in Sonoma.
Okay.
Here in the town of Sonoma.
Got it.
Yeah. It's called the Red Grape. It's a beautiful pizza restaurant.
The Red
Grape.
Red Grape.
We're gonna,
we haven't been down there.
No, here's. I want to do a sidebar here. All of these wines are from Sonoma because you're from Sonoma and the winery's in Sonoma. You have a place across the valley there. I think I've heard it before. Napa. That seems to get most of the press, but Sonoma's always produced great wines, But am I right or wrong about this? The real estate in Sonoma is maybe not that of Napa.
It's a really interesting thing. So Napa gets the Disneyland effect.
Yeah.
And so like our coined joke is that Napa makes auto parts, Sonoma makes wine. And it takes
that's going to be on a meme.
And it takes a while for people to truly understand what that means. And really, if you kind of step back and kind of look, Napa is known for big Cabernets, which people do enjoy. And don't get me wrong, there's some incredible wines, incredible wineries in Napa that dear friends of mine work at.
Right.
But I think the general consumer, they kind of get introduced into wine, the light and fruity stuff, and then all of a sudden they start enjoying Cabernets because they're big and heavy and jammy and a lot of fun and a lot of character. But then everybody kind of then starts shifting to Pinot Noir and Zinfandel and Grenache. That's a little more medium bodied, still has good flavors and characteristic, but
got some depth to them, but
more foodie wine and doesn't just hold over on its own. And so it's an interesting thing that I feel like the newest coin term that I'm using is Napa's for beginners. And once people kind of feel a little more established in wine and know what they want, that's when they show up in Sonoma. And that's the truth.
It's interesting how people evolve when they want to drink wine. So we've said this story a number of times when Shelly and I pour at tasting events, and where we'll have 20, 25 different white wines that go well with shellfish and things like that. And they'll come up to us and they'll say, just pour me your best wine. And I will say, let's start down here. And they will say, is that your best wine? I don't know. You'll have to tell me when we work through it, because people don't give themselves the permission to go off what they taste. Right.
Exactly.
And so the evolution of the person trying to get into the wine world and enjoy wine is really fascinating, because they start with those real fruity.
I started out with muscat,
sugar wines.
Moscato di Canelli.
Moscato di Canelli. That's funny. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
I think that might change some things. I don't know.
But then my next favorite was Merlot. So
oh, there you go.
it was Almadine Merlot.
but see the evolution, right? Well, which brings up the question: what was your gateway wine, Tony? You had to have one.
Like more important, probably Zinfandel for sure. That's what my family did. That was what was on our dinner tables as a kid, and my grandfather, my mom's dad, drank a lot of wine and always demanded it being on the table, and he never wanted to spend a lot of money on the wine, but it was like whatever he really got a good deal on, but really most of the time it was Zinfandel. That's what we did at our house.
Are you producing a Zinfandel?
We are now, for the first time ever.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful. We just unveiled it. It's one of our newest releases. It's just a beautiful, beautiful wine.
A couple weeks ago,
that's the main grape within the Linemen, and so
good.
I was going to ask
this blend. Yeah, we'll put this blend together. I wanted something that would truly represent, the offensive linemen. So the 5 linemen that have to come together to block as one, and so the idea of a blend, right? And
that's a great idea.
Yeah, and so Zinfandel based, then there's also Grenache, Syrah, Merlot, and Charbonneau. And so it's a really cool blend, unique that there's 5 varietals that are truly, sought out to make it. And the idea behind it is kind of just being easy drinking red, like nothing you have to overly think about. It's drinkable by itself. We dub it the porch pounder. You open it up, you're not putting it in the back. It's screw cap. It makes it easy. You sit on the front porch, and before you know it, you're going back inside for a second bottle, not to get it.
And again, the price point is $35. So, are you growing Charbonneau down there?
No. So the main goal of this wine was to buy bulk wine from other wineries that they are looking to sell. And so that kind of kicked us off, 2018 being the first vintage of this project. And then slowly but surely since then, we've kind of gone to the point where most of the grapes we're picking ourselves. And so, from the Grenache, the Syrah, the Merlot, the Zinfandel, the Charbonneau is kind of the one that we buy from a friend. It's a very small splash that gets sent into it. It's a big, overly tannic grape that kind of is a perfect blender for this, but doesn't have too much of a presence.
It'd be like a Petit Verdot or Petit Syrah that they're very tannic that just need to kind of 3-4%. Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Oh, I thought you had something. What I was going to ask was, I don't remember, but we're going to go to a break. And when we come back, we're going to open one more, the big dog.
Yeah.
The big fat guy.
Big bad cab.
When we come back. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays with Shelly and Phil and Tony Mall of Three Fat Guys Wines. And by the way, we're going to open. Oh my God.
Heavy fun.
Okay. I don't have a short thumb by any stretch, but if you're watching on YouTube, my thumb has disappeared in the punt.
It's a big punch.
Wow. Karen MacNeil might have something to say with you about that. Don't tell Karen MacNeil. This bottle is really heavy. Oh,
it actually used to be heavier.
Really?
Is that right?
This is the slimmed down version.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah, so we found a bottle that was over 2,000 grams in weight, and so when it was full, it felt like you're pouring a magnum of wine. It was huge,
and that's hard to do, especially for small people like me.
But I'll tell you, I mean, like my joke about it is like, well, it's called Three Fat Guys. It should be heavy.
That's true.
Yeah. But the best part about it, honestly, is, it's a special, this is a very special wine. And so this is a celebration wine. That's how we sell it to people. And
I'm sure a case of this probably runs $50 to ship alone.
Yeah, exactly. But when it's on the dinner table and people are pouring it around, the weight alone, it's the funniest thing in the world. People will have it completely upside down and they'll shake it like it's a ketchup bottle, trying to get more out of it because it's so heavy. They think it's stuck inside.
They're doing a Molly Duker shake when the bottle's empty. This, I told you I was really excited about the Chard. This one is right behind it.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful wine. We started making wine, Cabernet out of Napa Valley was our original wine that we did. And so 2007, the first couple years that we were in production, it was actually a partnership with Charles Woodson, one of our former teammates with the Packers. He had a small winery in Napa, and so we kind of piggybacked and used his wine team to get us going. But ultimately for me, as we expanded and wanted to do more, I wanted to get into incredible vineyards. So we kind of went here in this direction. And so as I retired from football, we brought Jim in as our winemaker. And the first wine that we kind of put together was this Rutherford Cabernet. Comes from an incredible vineyard, widely accepted as one of the best vineyards in all of California. We don't put its name on it because we don't pay for the naming rights. I think it's kind of the pricing is high enough already. There's no reason for it. That's so funny.
So if you put the vineyard on, they would charge you for that.
They would charge us significantly more for the grapes.
Yeah. Interesting. That's just very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that kind of, I don't know. Well, that's a whole different story, but
sure.
Really, really, it was about having the best of the best of the best. And that's where I wanted Three Fat Guys to truly be able to go. And so, getting back to what our label looks like is let me grab one real quick. So our original label looks like this. And so it's just it's boxed out. It just says Three Fat Guys on it. It's nice and simple. And so when we started looking at labeling and packaging, our name stuck out so much that what we found is that we wanted a tuxedo effect on the bottle to kind of make it feel more serious. And so we still have a handful of wines that have the original label on it. And then the crest is our club wines. And so these are kind of what we call the best of the best. And so this is what goes out to the wine club. And so going back, with the idea of having a wine from Napa, it kind of doesn't really fit our mold with everything else being from Sonoma Valley. But it's been a great partnership for us over the last 10 plus years. And it was actually a vineyard that Jim had worked himself for many years and has been a part of. And so we've made some dear friends there and some that are a part of the operation, the farming company, and it's been great. But it's when you kind of look at Cabernet, there's a reason why Napa grows Cab. Sonoma is known for Pinot and Grenache and Zinfandel. It's on a daily average, it's over 5 degrees warmer just by going over the hill to Napa.
Wow.
And that big red just needs that extra heat to really kind of kick off. And, and their soils I think are a touch more volcanic than what we have here in Sonoma. And it really plays into it. And I love this vineyard a lot. It's ancient creek bed. So the roots go down about 2 to 3 feet before they hit just bedrock. And then they spread out sideways and they're just trying to find water and they can't find it. And they're so restricted that you just get this big jammy punch in the face Cabernet.
How far down before they hit that bedrock?
About 2 to 3 feet.
Okay. And so it's interesting because I think anybody who's done any gardening, which farming is just elaborate gardening. Okay. They're like, well, make sure you give enough water. Make sure you give enough water. But the more we learn about this is sometimes, maybe more than sometimes, the grapes and the vines need to be stressed because they really work for it, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's how you build character, right? If everything was easy, you'd be
Sure.
lean and where if it's a rough life, I mean, you have a lot of character and growing up.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing within agriculture too. And so these vines are vigorous and put out just an incredible product. And we've always been pretty lucky to get these grapes, and because of that, we put it to the absolute 9. So the winemaking process, to the selection of wine barrels that are being used, the aging in barrels, and it all comes together and trying to create, in our minds, the best wine around. And that's, we spare no expense with this Cabernet because we want it to be the best Napa Cab. And, and it's pretty fun. It's a really cool thing that when you have prominent wineries throughout the Napa Valley that, when someone says, hey, we want to go over to Sonoma, do you have any recommendations? They go to Three Fat Guys. You're going to love it. And that's really cool to have that happen.
It sure is.
Yeah.
I would say this has opened up really nicely in my glass, and immediately it's hashtag Napa nose.
Napa nose.
Yeah, it's got an absolute Napa nose. It's delicious. I will be savoring this glass for a little bit.
Is this 100% Cabernet?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
I wanted to bring up a couple things. You had mentioned your wine club, and do you have a nifty name for that wine club, by the way? Is it Club TFG?
Yep, it's Club TFG, kind of like Club Med, but it's cooler.
It's cooler. You've got some things coming up, and I believe December 7th is your winter champion release and ugly sweater party, which is, of course, only for club members, right?
No, we don't really play that way.
Okay.
It's right around the corner. So the thing that the club members get is they get their club discount on everything that we do, and they get invitations to all of what we do.
Okay.
but we never shut down days, and it's never have this inclusive thing going on. It's more of just, it's open to everybody. Come hang out. We want to have fun parties, and everybody should be able to have a party too. And we're more of an allocation club, and so we have different tiers for the club itself. And so we have people that they're part of our case club. So we release wine to the club 4 times a year, so quarterly. It's the Pinot Noir in the spring, our Chardonnay in the summer, our Cab in the fall, and then in the winter, which is right now, is our Champion line, which is our champagne, our sparkling wine, which is a super fun wine.
Is that Chard based or Pinot Noir?
Pinot Noir based, yeah. So it's Brut Rosé. It's a lot of fun, but ultimately, most people kind of they'll be in the 6 or 12 bottles, but most people are in the 2 to 3 bottles because they want to come here and add on to their order, or they'll call us and be like, hey, I need some rosé at my house. I need some Zinfandel. I need something. I ran out of Chardonnay. Throw in some bottles, which that's what I love. It's I don't want to just send a big giant package of wine to people and then we never hear from them because they're just trying to just drink through what they already have.
Yeah.
And so we go all the way down to a 1 bottle club.
Oh, good for you.
Which is pickup only here at the winery. And it's kind of meant for locals to just be a part of what we're doing. And but the whole idea is we throw these big fun parties, and it's like it's open to everybody. Come enjoy, come be a part of what we're doing.
Oh, good for you guys. Yeah. You also have December 12th is your Santa visit at the tasting room. By the way, Tony, are you dressing up as Santa?
I've avoided it so far. Who knows? We'll see. Typically, we can get somebody to want to do it for a bottle of wine.
That's right.
But
we'll send Rod down.
But Santa drinking red wine, I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
Oh yeah, well Darren and I. So Darren's from Alaska, but he's truly from North Pole, Alaska, which there is Christmas Village there.
Wow!
And so you can go there, and you can go to the Kringle's house, and see them year round, and go take pictures with them. And so Darren and I went there, and we presented them with some wine, and they told us we were good boys, of course.
That's all you want to hear.
Yeah.
You don't need any coal in your stocking, that's for sure.
That's it, right? And so, no, it's such a great little event, and it's really fun as you get all these young parents with small kids, and they're like, just throw them in the car to just get down to the taster room just so they can have a glass of wine while the kids run crazy.
I'll bet. And lastly, you have your New Year's Eve early ball drop on December.
Oh, yeah.
Well, ironically enough, on December 31st. Who knew?
Yeah, right, exactly, right. But that's a fun one too. I mean, we started doing it a couple of years ago, and it was, same thing with young families in mind, was to do it from 2 to 3 or 2 to 4. And so we do the ball drop like at 3:00, and so everyone comes down here. The kids love it too. We do a big balloon drop. And it's like everyone will buy their wine for the New Year's Eve dinner.
Great idea.
Yeah, we sell so much wine in that short window that it's like we always question ourselves why we stay open all day long. We need to just give this like 1 hour window for people to show up and buy wine from us, because it works then.
Then you would be in complete chaos. So you should probably have a 3 or 4 hour window, right, to let people come in and out. Shelley and I have gone to numerous New Year's Eve parties here in Coeur d'Alene, and the first one we went to, and it starts like at 7:00, and then 9:00 they do the big old, and then everybody goes home. I'm like, what are you doing? It's not midnight. And then we realized, we're the youngest ones in the room, and these guys are going to bed.
Right, exactly.
It's so sad. We're going to do a little bit of business here. We have the social web wine word of the week, Destemming. Now, I use this because you guys just caught out a harvest, and that's a part of the whole harvest and crush and all of that during the sprint that is August to October. But it's the process of removing grape berries from their stems, and it's a common practice in winemaking, as stems can add bitterness and astringency to wine.
And tannins.
And tannins. However, there are whole cluster wines that are out there that don't do destemming. I don't know if I quite get that.
Yeah, and you could take it even further now. I mean, so we're using machines in the vineyards to help harvest that'll actually destem for us out, and so the stems never even leave the vine. And so it's pretty cool. But all of that kind of comes into play. There's a million ways to make wine.
Sure.
So it's finding the ones that you enjoy, that you love, the quality and the character that what's created. And so we do it all. So like our Chardonnay is whole cluster pressed. And so it's just drop it in the press and really push it. Where like our rosé, we're going to destem that and it's going to go into the press that way. Where, but what we're really starting to see is that it's the migrant workers are few and far between now these days. And so a lot of these vineyards have kind of shifted into being machine harvested. And so these machines over the last 10, 15, 20 years, the technology has come so far along. They're costing like $1 million, but they do such an incredible job in the vineyards that it used to be like one of those things that was like, oh, we machine harvest. It's like, oh, okay, we don't really want that. Where now it's like, it's kind of flip-flopped. It's now
in a sense, it's kind of like AI in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Having AI do work so you can let other people use their head to do the
right. And so the machines come through and they like violently will shake the vines, not enough to damage them, but all the berries will drop off, essentially destem.
Wow, it's like picking olives.
Yeah.
Yep. And then it'll pull everything up into and then it'll start the filter process and it'll get rid of everything that's not a grape. And so the bins are just perfectly filled with just grapes and grape juice. And so by the time you bring it to the winery, that big process of destemming is already done. It's super convenient. And so it's nice, but we do it all. We do everything. So like when our Cabernet, kind of talking about the wine in front of us.
Yeah.
That's, it's hand picked, it's trimmed off the vine, comes in, we give it a light sort, and it goes straight into the destemmer, which is also going to remove any leaf or something else that might get through.
Well, and there's a reason this is $160 at the winery per bottle, because of that. It's laborious, right?
Right.
And that's why you put it in this 8-ton bottle.
Exactly.
For that. By the way, God, this report does not want to stay in. This thing was very tight. Not very tight. There was some sharp edges, tannins. It took literally 5-8 minutes before it's round on my tongue, and it's just delicious. This is really good. I would go so far as to say this would be phenomenal. Yeah, that's right. But this would be fantastic with a steak that's rare, like maybe prime rib would be perfect. But I'm going more ribeye, and
I'd take either of those.
I'm going beef Wellington.
Take either of those.
I'll say beef Wellington.
Oh man,
right.
I mean this is a celebratory wine for sure, and that can be laid down for probably easy 15 or 20 years. Easy.
So we obviously our first vintage was 2013, and so every once in a while we'll open up one of our earlier vintages just to see how it's going, and it's still tight, and it's still we decant it for a couple hours, and it just big giant beautiful bouquet, and it turns into incredible wine, but it's nowhere near expiring, and that's such a cool part, and it's one of my favorite sides of what we do is it's you spend a lot of money and you put a lot of labor of love into this whole thing, and now we're aging these incredible vintages, and we don't have a lot of them, the older vintages, but being able to open one up every once in a while and just seeing it like, oh man, that is so good. It's
do you get to share that with some of your staff?
We do, yeah. We do some fun stuff. We're actually talking. So the wine bottles behind me up on the wall, right? It started as more of like a display of like, hey, here's our offering. This is what we do. And now it's like there's like you can see where right here. There we go. There's several vintages of our rosé that are up there, and so I'm like, it'd be kind of fun is to invite a handful of club members, and let's open up these bottles and just see if they're even good still, or because they sit up here, it gets hot in the tasting room.
They're high, so they get cooked, and they're under fluorescent lights, and all of the wrong ways of storing wine, right?
Oh yeah,
but
exactly.
You never know until you open it.
Fun. Yeah, you never know. There's a big giant bottle of this I think is our 2013 Cabernet right there. So that's
nice.
It'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
I've got a little message for Dusty when you see him. Is thanks for sending us a rosé. Sure. Appreciate that.
Or a Zinfandel.
Or a Zinfandel.
I need to go order some Zinfandel.
Yeah, we literally just unveiled it, so it's
that's my daughter's.
My
daughter's favorite right now. That's going to be her Christmas present.
Oh, nice.
Very good.
Perfect.
I love that. It's a touch bigger than the Pinot Noir. It's nice and fruity and with a nice layer of pepper.
You sure you want to send that to her? a couple more things. I was going to say some wines we enjoyed this week. Stellar Organic Pinotage, the 7 Cellars Cabernet Sauvignon, Rivaura Estate Cabernet Franc, and Veer Wine Project Garnacha, and the Napa Cellars Chardonnay.
Yes, Napa Cellars. I used to sell Napa Cellars for $3.49.
Well,
in 1982.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Some things coming up in the future, and we've got the 4th is Cabernet Franc Day. Last week we opened a Cabernet Franc. Yeah. In honor of this day. The 5th, everyone should celebrate Prohibition Repeal Day. Thank you. And the 16th, International. I'm going to try it. Ready? Pinot Meunier.
Meunier.
I did it.
Almost.
Oh, damn it. And the 31st, of course, Champagne Day. Although I'm pretty sure you could probably say that's a sparkler day as well. Coming up next week, the Christmas holiday party etiquette regarding wine. And I'm going to ask you, Tony, what is your thing that you would add on going to a Christmas party, some of the etiquette involved in that? I'm curious because it's people get overwhelmed and kind of second guess themselves a little bit.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter. Just put wine on the table. Wine is a must on the dinner table.
No
every
yellowtail
night of the week. No yellowtail. Yeah.
No yellowtail.
Yeah,
keep away from Pinot Gris. No Pinot Grigio either.
But that's the most important part. It's just wine has its spot on the dinner table, and we just need to make sure that happens every night.
And by the way, it's all about the people, right? Tony, thank you so much for your time. We went a little over that what we just discussed, but appreciate your time. And these are phenomenal wines. You're going to have a couple sales apparently with some Zinfandel, one coming to our house and one going down to Katie and Tim's house down in Orange. A big thanks to today's sponsors, the Cuvée app based out of Napa and a CDA Gourmet. And with a little bit of knowledge, Shelley and Tony, probably, wine becomes a lot less overwhelming. Tony, thank you so much for spending some time with us, sharing your wines, continued success. Go Seahawks. And we'll see
you can see the cheese head right there. That's go pack go, right? So yeah, thanks Phil and Shelley, really appreciate it. And as in spirit with Black Friday, we have a deal going on right now. Just use the discount code holiday20. Go on and get some wine. Go to our website, get 20% off. Today
Look in the notes. Look in the notes. It's right there, holiday20, and you'll get 20% off. Is that what you're saying?
That's it.
Shelley.
Yay. Now we can buy more than one bottle of Zinfandel.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, get a case. Yeah.
Hey, you get five bottles, and you get one for free. There you go. Have a great weekend. Go Hawks, go Packers, I guess. And we'll see you next week. Thank you for spending part of your day to wind down with Shelley and Phil.
Remember, you can listen to any episode of the Wine Time Fridays podcast by visiting winetimefridays.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us on our Wine Time Fridays Facebook page, Instagram, or on Twitter, which is @VintageTweets, for daily conversation. Until next week, here's our toast to you, to health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, peace on earth, and of course, romance.